Hi everyone, here we are outside of St Cuthbert's church. This is the church where I am the vicar of, and you can see this beautiful looking stone building here that's been here for quite a long time. And if we wander this way, wander over the road and try and not get run over by the traffic, you can see that it was built in 1740, which was a very long time ago. An interesting feature outside of this church are these steps, and these steps are where people used to climb up here and they would get onto their horse. So here are the front gates to the church, and you can see this nice big pillars and some steps. Here we are at the front door. You've got this really nice big wooden front doors. And around me, you can see lots and lots of gravestones and lots of trees, and some people have been buried here for almost as long as this church has been here for hundreds of years. When you come through the front door, one of the first things that you will see is this here, which is called the font. And the font is where children are baptized. And so in this nice big bowl here, we put lots of water, and then we take that water and we splash it onto the baby's head. And the reason why it's by the front door is because baptism is about welcoming the child into the life of the church. So they come through the front door and then they are baptized and welcomed into the life of the church. So here we are inside the church, in the main part of the church. And you will see that there are lots and lots of seats for people to sit on. And these seats, they have a very special name. And they're like big wooden benches. And these are called the pews. They're not very comfortable, to be honest, to sit on. So they've got lots of nice cushions on here. And sometimes people like to kneel down as well. And so we also have, just in front of us here, called a kneeler. People might put that on the floor and they might kneel down to pray, because some people like to kneel down to pray. If you were to get married in this church, then the bride would walk down the middle of the church between the two lots of pews, and this is called the aisle. So she would walk down the aisle and then she would get to the front, and this very special moment, and then she would meet the person that she is about to get married to, and then we'd have a very special service, a wedding service. At the front of the church here, you can see some very special things. So the first one you can see is what's called the pulpit. And so this is the place where the person who is explaining what the Bible means and what the Christian faith means to people in the church every week, that's where they will do this from. And so we can go and have a look, and you can see around here that there are some steps. So you walk up into the pulpit and you would put what you're going to say on here, and then you would talk to everybody who is in the church. At the front, you can also see what we call the lectern, and you can see on the top of the lectern there is a big bird. This bird is an eagle, and if we go around the back, you can again see that there are some steps. So whoever is reading would get up here, and on here we've got a nice big book, and these are the words from the Bible. So somebody would read the words from the Bible, and for everybody who is sat down would hear it, and then the person who is going to explain what it all means would stand in the pulpit and they would talk about it. In the main part of the church, you can see that all the pews are facing forwards. But if we turn around, we've also got these pews here and here, which are facing sideways. So these pews are where the choir would sit, and then when it's time to sing, they would stand up and they would help to lead the singing for everybody else to join in with as well. And then behind that, we've got the organ. So the organ here has lots of keys. It's like a really complicated piano or keyboard, and there's lots of things that you can pull out that make different noises and different instruments. There are also some pedals down here, and if we look up, you can see lots and lots of different pipes where all the notes are played out of. And so the person who plays the organ, they would play the music that the choir sings and that everybody else joins in with as well. Right at the front of the church, there is this very special area. So we have this wooden rail, and everything behind that wooden rail is called the sanctuary. And inside the sanctuary, there's lots of things. So there's some candles, and there's also this very special big wooden table. This big wooden table is called the altar. And the altar is where we say a special prayer on a Sunday morning, and we have some bread and some wine, and we give that to everybody as we remember the most important part of the Christian faith, which is when Jesus died, but he also rose again, because Christians believe that it was through this that Jesus became the Savior of the world. If you look up at the end of the church, you will see this big window. It looks very impressive. It is called a stained glass window, and you'll see lots of these kind of windows in churches all over the country. And in this window, we have Jesus in the middle, and then we have St Cuthbert on the left, and that's who this church is named after, and then St Hilda on the right. And the church celebrates certain Christians from down the years, and we think about their story and what they can teach us today. So St Cuthbert is very important for this church. In this church, there is something very special that you don't see in many other churches. So if we walk up these steps, what we can see in here is what is called a mausoleum. It's very high and very impressive. And you'll see lots of different statues and lots of people remembered. And in here, we have the person who paid for this church to be built, called Sir William Turner. He's buried in here. And lots of his family are also remembered and buried. So we've got lots of people's names on the floor, all to do with this special Turner family. And Sir William Turner was once the Mayor of London. So he had lots of money, he owned lots of land around here, and so we've got lots of his family are all remembered with these statues. You can see all around here. And this mausoleum was originally built because Sir William Turner's nephew died, and so it was built to be a place for him to be buried in. On the walls around the church, you can also see some very interesting things. So this one shows you a plan of what the church looks like. So if you are looking at the church from above, you can see what it looks like. You can see the mausoleum in the corner, and then the main part of the church where everybody sits, and then where the organ goes and where the choir sits with their pews as well. And if we wander down here, you can also see this is what Kirkleatham Village used to look like, which is where we are now, where the church is. This is what Sir William Turner used to own. And so you can see how it's changed quite a lot from what it looked like back then to what it looks like now. There's a lot more houses and other things in the Redcar area. So I hope you enjoyed your tour of St Cuthbert's, and I look forward to taking your questions.